Some places are better left forgotten. Some doors should never be opened. But what if you had no choice? Today, I will tell you a story of a man who stumbled upon something that should have never been found. A secret buried deep beneath the earth, waiting for someone foolish enough to awaken it. If you enjoy unsettling tales, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, let's begin. The Road to Nowhere. Daniel Cross was a man who thrived on solitude. A documentary filmmaker specializing in abandoned places, he traveled across the country, capturing lost history and forgotten structures. His latest obsession was an old mining town called Black Hollow, a place that had vanished from records over 50 years ago. It was said that one night, every single inhabitant disappeared without a trace. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just an empty town left to rot. It was exactly the kind of story Daniel lived for. The road leading to Black Hollow was barely more than a dirt path, winding through a dense forest. His GPS gave up miles ago, leaving him to navigate using an old map. The deeper he drove, the more the trees seemed to close in around him. The air grew thick, heavy, almost suffocating. Then, as if stepping through an unseen barrier, he emerged into a clearing. Black Hollow stood before him. Echoes of the past. The town was eerily intact. Buildings stood as if frozen in time, wooden signs creaking in the wind. The streets were covered in a fine layer of dust, untouched by footprints or tire tracks. Daniel parked his car near what looked like the remains of an old general store. As he stepped out, a strange sensation washed over him. It was as if the air itself was listening, waiting. He pulled out his camera and began filming. June 7th, 2023. Arrived in Black Hollow. The town is in remarkable condition. No signs of recent human activity. It's as if time stopped here. His voice sounded hollow in the vast silence. Wandering through the streets, he noticed something unsettling. There were objects left, as if people had just vanished mid-action. A rocking chair on a porch, still slightly swaying. A set of playing cards scattered on a table. A half-eaten meal inside a diner, long since rotted away. And then he found the church. The journal. The doors were slightly ajar. Inside, pews were covered in thick dust, and a massive crumbling altar stood at the far end. On it, an old leather-bound book rested, its pages yellowed with age. Daniel picked it up carefully, flipping through its pages. The handwriting was frantic, filled with desperate scribbles and scratched out words. They came from below. We heard them whispering in the dark. At first, we thought it was the winds, but the voices grew louder, closer. They know we hear them. Daniel frowned and kept reading. They took Samuel first. He walked outside at night, said he heard his mother calling him. But she's been dead for 10 years. When we found him, his eyes were missing. The words became more erratic. They don't like the light. We locked ourselves inside. The sun will rise soon. If we last the night, maybe we'll be safe. The final entry was scrawled in shaking letters. There is no morning here. A chill ran down Daniel's spine. He set the book down and turned to leave. Then he heard it whisper. The descent. It came from beneath the floorboards, a soft, echoing whisper, too distorted to understand. Daniel froze, heart hammering. Then, the trapdoor behind the altar creaked open. Against every instinct, Daniel raised his camera and approached. He shined his flashlight into the opening. A wooden ladder led down into darkness. The air smelled damp, stale. Something moved below. For a moment, his rational mind fought back. Turn around, get in the car, leave. But the whisper came again. This time, it formed words. Help me, a human voice. Into the abyss. Daniel descended, his flashlight barely piercing the darkness. The ladder led into a tunnel carved from the earth, the walls lined with strange symbols. He pressed forward, filming everything. The passage opened into a vast underground chamber. At its center stood a pit, an unnatural blackness swirling within. Around it lay human bones, some ancient, some disturbingly fresh. Then he saw the faces, dozens of them, emerging from the darkness, pale, hollow-eyed, their mouths moving in silent screams. They clung to the walls, their bodies half-formed, as if struggling to escape something unseen. Daniel stumbled back, his breath ragged. The whispering grew deafening. From the pit, something began to rise. No escape. A shape unfolded, impossibly tall, its limbs stretching and twisting. It had no eyes, yet Daniel felt it staring straight into him. Its mouth split open, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. Then it spoke. More. Daniel turned and ran. The tunnel seemed longer than before, the whispers chasing him, clawing at his mind. He reached the ladder, scrambling up as something cold brushed against his ankle. Bursting into the church, he slammed the trapdoor shut and bolted outside. The town was different now. The buildings distorted, the sky an unnatural shade of black. His car was gone. The whispering was everywhere. The forgotten ones. Daniel ran. He didn't know where, only that he had to keep moving. The streets twisted, looping back on themselves. Every door he tried was locked. His own footprints vanished behind him. And then he saw them. The people of Black Hollow, standing in the streets, watching him with hollow eyes. Their mouths moved, but no sound came out. And at the center of them stood the creature, its endless grin stretching wide. Daniel screamed. Then, silence. The final broadcast. Weeks later, his camera was found at the edge of the forest, covered in dust. The footage inside was corrupted, filled with static and brief glimpses of things that shouldn't exist. And at the very end of the recording, just before the screen went black, there was one last frame. Daniel staring into the lens, his eyes hollow, his mouth moving silently, and then a whisper, more. If you enjoyed this story, remember to like and subscribe. And whatever you do, if you ever hear whispers from below, don't listen.